recap last week's game?
Sure. Obviously we had another overtime adventure, and just go through the whole game. We started out a little sluggish on defense. Give them guys, the guys credit for Murray. They ran the ball probably a little more than we expected, and probably took advantage of how we were aligned, and gave us some fits going in the first half. Offensively, we felt like we left a lot of points on the board early on. Moved the ball, had a turnover going into the end zone right before half, which was really a negative, a big setback to us. But we went in at halftime, made some good adjustments, came out the second half, really thought we looked like who we want to look like. Defensively played very well. Offensively had a great night moving the ball. And probably the theme for the whole night offensively was just turnovers. We've got to eliminate those. That's something we hadn't done all year, and that's something we take a lot of pride in. We talk a lot about. Had the fumble going in the end zone, and we had our interceptions. So we've got to fix that. That led into the overtime. Where we got into the overtime, and really looked great coming out offensively. Had the quick score, and and got those guys into a 4th and 10 situation. Couldn't get off the field. They made a play, scored, went for 2. There was some contact with some DBs right there, but there was no call, and they made the catch and beat us. But our guys fought, and as I said after the game, I was so proud of them for the fight they have, and the courage to stay with it. And we've got things to fix, but I think that's what you notice after a loss. Sometimes they're more magnified. And 3 overtime games in a row is kind of crazy, but that's kind of where we've been. So proud of the effort. Obviously disappointed in the loss, especially being our first one in conference. But as we said earlier, this is each week to us is like a playoff game. We're going to treat them like that. We're going to focus this week, on UT Martin and what all that entails, and that's all we should be thinking about.
Bill, would you speak a little bit about what you know about Martin at this point?
Yeah, I think going in, if we just said, if you'd asked me before the season, who did I think was going to be one of the contenders for the, for the title, one of the teams we had to go through, if we wanted to win it, you would have said UT Martin. And, I think that speaks to their program, what they've done up to this point. Coach Simpson and those guys, are really doing things the right way. We got to play against them, a few years ago when I was at South, and which allowed me to really watch. That was a chance for me to kind of watch the OVC. I got to watch, UT Martin against Jack State. I got to watch them in Murray, and it really gave me a real respect for them. Didn't know a lot about their program to that. So that's probably as far as knowing about somebody. I really feel like I know about those guys as good as anybody from at least having to play against them. So, and it has given me a lot of respect for for what they've done and where they've come from. So, they are a really good running team. That was the thing that stood out to me 2 years ago. Their quarterback was unbelievable. They ran the ball, and I think they were leading the nation in offense when we played them. But I knew they had a good quarterback. Obviously, he graduated, and then they've come in. They've got 2 guys, they're playing there with Favre and Neal. Playing with Favre, I think, probably getting most of the reps right now. But do a really good job offensively, run the ball well. Got some really good receivers. Butler, I think, is every bit as good as Powell was last week. It's bigger. They're all good, but they're very well coached on offense. Defensively, I would think they're up there in probably a lot of the same categories. Very multiple 3-3 defense, which is stemming and moving, and multiple safeties coming in and out. And I think they're giving people fits with that, and then sounding the kicking game again. So, it's exactly what I thought it would be. It's going to be a war. It's going to be another tough game, and we knew that going in. We expected that this game, and it's really just what I expected that it would be.
Are you familiar with the game these teams played last year?
Yeah, just from watching it.
Okay. From watching that, knowing your team, and seeing what Martin has, can you envision Saturday being a game like last year, or something totally different? Yeah,
I think it's I hope we do our part. I see them knowing they're going to battle us, and I feel like knowing our guys, we're going to battle them, and I think it could easily come down again to the last second. So we're going to go at it like that it's going to be a fight to the finish. And like I said, we've got corrections. We say that every week. I was looking at our our team roster, and I think, I don't know why I just got to thinking about that this weekend about, the mistakes we're making and trying to correct. And, I think we've got 3 positions on defense with seniors, and we've got, really we had, it's from starters, and we had one on offense now with, if Gavin, if he starts, there's 2. But, we said going in, that's not going to be an excuse. That's not going to be a thing that we say, well, we don't have enough experience or whatever, because we do have some guys that played last year even though they were young. But we've got to keep getting better every week, and I think we learn, you learn by the game. So you hate to learn through a loss, but I think we've learned some things. But I think the thing that we know going into this game is that it's going to be a tough game.
And I just to follow that through, a lot of throwing last year, obviously, and you saw what the first quarter was like, where it was a whole bunch early. I mean, that's what I mean. Do you think it could be a wildly offensive game like that, or
they don't seem to be that same team now? I've had teams change. And,
right.
I mean, they came off an open date and they played, SEMO and they were pretty conservative. They got up 17-0 and had some chances to probably put the game away. Are you? Did you work on some things in the open date you don't want to show? Or is that just kind of who you are? I do think he's not 2-to-1. They're about 60-65% run, but they're still throwing it 35 to 40% of the time. So that's still a high amount of throws. So it could easily turn into that. And sometimes that's just what's working, for both sides. So who knows? Like I said, I know it's going to be a dogfight.
And it's really just 2 others for me. You talked about things to fix. We've spoken about that. Are those errors or mistakes, whatever, are they correctable just with awareness, or is it something that drill to correct? And when I say awareness, I'm be sure that you protect the ball when you're going into the
Well, I think one guy on a fumble. Other than that, we hadn't done that any. And so that's just one, hey, I don't care where you are. You don't feel the guy behind you. It's high and tight at all time. I think he'll learn from that. We'll all learn from it. And then the quarterbacks have just got to, he's got to be smart. And boy, when you kind of make these unbelievable throws and you fit it into these windows, are you, is that the give and take? I don't really like that, but I loved how we threw the ball. And we did so many good things in the throw game, and we got a touchdown, we go in the end zone, we drop, and so we want to be able to throw the ball. And I told y'all that early on. I think people probably thought I was a little crazy, or because we ran the ball so much. But really, that's who we want to be. We want to be able to do both. We want to be able to take advantage, and we think we've got that offense to do that. So 600 yards of offense is a pretty good night. We've got to just do the things to protect the football. So that, and then defensively, if we had to do it over again, we might have treated Murray more like a zone option team who could still throw the ball. And maybe that some people will have some hindsight on this quarterback as time goes. And it took us to half to get that adjustment. So I didn't like our energy to start the game defensively. I think one of the big things for us defensively, and I say this all the time, if you're not physically better than the team you play, you better play with a lot of energy. And when you've had to do that week after week after week after week, sometimes it can get hard. But I told them, I said, whatever the reason, there's only so many of these, you better bring your A game early. And we're not good enough to not do that. We're not physically dominant. You can look at us on the hoof. I think every team we play is bigger than we are. But our guys run to the ball. They get off blocks. They play their butts off. And that's how we got to play. And then, you come in at half and you say, really we didn't make many changes. We made a few. But we just started playing hard. I'm just being real honest with you. And look what happened. So hopefully they see this level. We said you've got to play it. That we've been playing it. We've got to play it from the first second we get there. For whatever reason we didn't. So I think that's the learning for us defensively.
And it's just being aware of it.
That's correct.
Not like you drill it, and the fix will be made. It's just
we
be
hope
aware
so.
that these are the things.
That's right. That's right.
And I think on a plus side, when you speak to how your defense is playing, I looked at some of the ancillary stats. You can see what the yardages and things are. You're leading the league in sacks. You're leading in red zone defense. I think you've given up the fewest touchdowns in the red zone.
Right.
As in terms of how many situations.
Sure. I think it can be so misleading to brag on those guys. Up till really the first half of this game, they played so good. They really have played unbelievable. Especially I think where we came from. you know, if you really went back and look at the situation, going back to Alabama State, you know, we throw a pick down there, we fumble a punt. You know, some of the situations we got put in against even Georgia State, and we did to ourselves in the special teams. So I don't know that that always shows up, especially if you're just looking at pure points, but they played really, really well. And, you know, that's the expectation we have here. So that's how we got to play. I've told the offense you can't expect that, but we do expect it out of them, and hopefully we get offense doing their thing and us doing the same thing defensively. You know, we're gonna get the results we want.
With him running it 65% of the time, it's going to be the most physical game you've been in this year.
It very well could be. I mean, you can see they coach their running backs like we coach ours. You know, and I mean, to me, that's a high compliment because, I mean, that's the only way we know to coach ours. But it's get north, they stick it, and they don't, it's not that zone off, leave the backside guy unblocked a lot. I mean, it's turn out, double teamed, old school, and you know, you're going to have to fill this hole, I'm going to run over you. And, you know, get 3, get 4, get 5, make you miss, get 20. And now they got a quarterback that can run. And, I mean, he is really one of the more dynamic runners I've seen. You know, it's a kind of a strange deal. He gets back there and you don't tackle him. I mean, the first guy, I don't know if I've seen the first guy tackling the whole year. And it's not even the second guy a lot of times. He's spinning, he's cutting, he's juking. I mean, he's running to the sideline, he's cutting it back. I mean, you don't see him run out of bounds much. He's, you know, and then he's got a cannon for an arm. So, not the biggest guy, but definitely scary, you know. And so you've added that run like a lot of people are doing, you know, they're reading it also. But you got a lot of just block down, turn out, or, you know, pull the guard around, you know, old school schemes that we're all used to seeing, and with a trappings of 3 wide, 4 wide, raise up, throw the quick string. So they've added that to the package. So it's going to be a physical game, no doubt.